You're running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good afternoon, Quasar Markets Live, and good afternoon to our trading mindset coach here, Agnieszka Wood. Agnieszka, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Howard? Nice to see you
I am
again.
doing well, thanks. You know, markets are trying to move to the upside, it seems. We've got the Fed later this week. It's going to be an interesting week in the world of trading, huh?
For sure.
That's the good thing is no matter what, it's almost always an interesting week in the world of trading.
I just wanted to say, it's like, is there ever a dull moment here?
Never. So we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics because I am the most guilty of it. Procrastination. Mm-hmm. I saw that it was on your podcast the end of last week, and yes. I wanted to find out what does procrastination mean in the world of trading?
Well, for most traders, really, it comes to not doing the work that they need to do to be successful, which is, everything that you need to take care of, except for clicking the buy and sell button. And usually trading becomes this, when people get into trading, they think this is all it is, right? You sit in front of the charts and then you click the buttons and this is how you make money. But really the preparation before you can actually sit in front of your charts and be able to make money and be able to keep the money you make, it sits all in the routines. It sits all in learning, analyzing your trades, preparing yourself from a mental perspective, physical perspective, so that you can handle the stress and the pressure that market creates within your body, within your psyche. These are all these extra things like journaling, analyzing, backtesting that just don't seem to be as sexy as clicking the buttons and looking at the charts. That creates a lot of, adrenaline and makes you excited. So these are the first things that most traders procrastinate with.
And it's so true. We always talk about the markets are 24/7 and you need to sleep and all that good stuff, which is very true, especially in my world of crypto. But with that being said, you also don't walk in the room and say, hey, guess what? I'm going to trade between 10 and 11 today, and you get up at 9:55 and you think you're just going to start clicking buttons, right?
Right. I mean, you can click buttons, but like going to a casino, right? It's like, what is it that you are here to do? And what I like to bring attention to always is, what is your intention for today? Are you just gonna, a lot of traders, you will hear them saying, well, I'll see what happens. When you have this approach, like, I'll see what happens, I can tell you what is going to happen, right? Because unfortunately, that is one thing that's very predictable. You might be lucky and make some money, but then most likely you will lose it, if not more. And you might be lucky to keep that money one day, if you are on the right side and you make the trades and it's all lining up for you. But now, can you actually keep that momentum and do that over and over again? Because it's very hard to replicate being lucky.
Absolutely.
Unless you know how did it happen, that lucky, how did you do it? But the moment that you ask yourself that question that requires work and actually looking into, how did I do it? But most traders don't look into it because it requires work. So what is it that you procrastinate most with?
For me, it can be anything. It's usually it's usually the menial tasks, like, things that I say, okay, I got to do laundry, I got to do this, and I just put it off. On trading, I'm actually pretty good, because what I would say to you is sometimes that isn't mean hours of homework, right? For me,
Right.
like this morning, I woke up and I looked at where the crypto market was, what Bitcoin was, and I sort of put together, until it does the following, this is my reaction going to be, this
Right.
is my setup. This is what I'm looking at. For me, those aren't the problems. For me, it's the procrastination, like you said, back testing. I'm great at doing the initial research, so I'll start to find out about a new indicator or hear somebody or see something on Twitter, and I get excited about it, and I'll do the first 5 minutes of looking into it. Where I'm bad is then going back and actually spending the time to do the back testing and the stuff there. So I think I'm one of those people who doesn't change very well, would be a second part of that. So I'd have to ask you, is that why? Because I don't like change. I know that already. Do I procrastinate?
Nobody really likes change. Nobody really likes change. And this is, the resistance will find all kinds of reasons. Like your head will give you all kinds of reasons why you shouldn't do certain things. And not liking change comes simply from the uncertainty and the discomfort of what is going to happen if I do change something, right? But procrastination itself is, it's actually really interesting, because it's not really about doing the task, like actually doing it, but it's more about beginning it.
You just nailed it. Because exactly, if I sit down, don't get me wrong, then I'll stay. Like last night, I was doing some stuff, sat down at 11 o'clock. I turn around, it's 2 a.m., and it wasn't something that I had to do last minute. It was just once I actually started the process, I do finish it. My problem is I bookmark 1,000 things. I'm one of those people, I want to come back to this article and learn more about it. I want to go back to this research on this, and then I want to study more on it. And I never do that start, like you just said.
Right, because that's the biggest resistance. And there are some tricks to how to start. One of the biggest obstacles is from people preventing them to start is because they sort of think about a task as this humongous task they have to do. So when you think about backtesting, most people will go like, oh my God, and now I need to backtest all these trades. And you take that as like, this is going to take me hours and this is going to be difficult. And you actually, in your head, you made it for yourself, this whole like big pile of work that you think this is going to take me ages and it's going to be difficult. And naturally, you're going to resist to do it. You're going to resist to begin. But as you said, the moment that you begin, and here comes really interesting part, the moment that you break that resistance and just begin, now your natural, there is this, I don't want to say syndrome, it's effect. They call it Zeigarnik effect in psychology, which is our natural tendency to want to finish something. It's like, we have this natural feeling of discomfort when something is unfinished. That's why when we are in a trade, we want to, like, we feel this like discomfort of like, I just want to get out of it. Right? I just want it to be over. I just want it to finish.
Right.
And once you get into the task, now this natural effect takes over. And that's why you actually are staying there longer than you would anticipate first, most of the time, and actually doing the task. So the trick is not to think before you begin that you have to finish. Don't think about it. Just say to yourself, I'm just going to do this for 10 minutes. I don't need to finish this task. I'm just going to begin and do this for only 10 minutes. So the 10-minute rule. Give yourself the idea, you know what, I'm just going to do it for 10 minutes and then I'll see how far I come. And then once you begin, you're already over that procrastination resistance. And then you forget about the 10 minutes and you just keep doing it, however long you do it.
I'm good at tricking myself. So I think that actually could work. I like that 10-minute rule because you're right. I psych myself out. I say, I'm going to put that off. I don't have enough time tonight to get that. For me, it's I don't have enough time to complete it, so I'm not going to start.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
And that's the biggest part of procrastination.
I'm not like in my own world. Sometimes I worry that, the trap falls that I fall into are just mine and not, broader.
No. That's very normal. And then and another trick is to, like, if you have something that will take longer, just break it down into small tasks. Just chunk it, because a lot of times when we feel like, oh, I got to do this, the overwhelm makes you not wanting to start, right? Because sometimes you are overwhelmed because you have to do it, but you don't really even have a clear idea how. So if you say, you know what, I'm just gonna break this down. What does that actually mean? What are the small tasks that I will need to do? The moment that you do that list of the small tasks, you will find out that some tasks will not take you longer than 1 minute.
And you're right. When I set like an agenda for myself, if I set a plan or an agenda to do something over a certain time frame, that's when I tend to follow through, because like you said, I almost have measurable sort of steps in front of me.
Exactly. And that's, that gives you also, like, doing those small tasks. I have personally, I have a rule that if something does not take me longer than 1 minute, I do it right away. I don't push it away. I mean, what is 1 minute? We usually procrastinate about the task longer than it actually will take us to do.
I argue with my wife on that one all the time, where she says, hey, remember, we've got to do this. And I say, and I'm actually pretty good with that with some of things, not very many, but where I'm like, can't we just do that right now? There's no reason that we can't. Like, that's a big one, is that, don't push off the easy stuff, because you accomplish it. Because then what starts to happen, I guess I would ask more than say, is once you accomplish one little task, then you want to accomplish the next one, and you sort of do you get that steamroller sort of going down the hill?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You created momentum, and you also feel good about it, because now you have actually started on the task that you were procrastinating about.
I do want to let everybody know where they can find this information, this podcast. Again, Agnieszka's website is aheadcoach.com, aheadcoach.com. She has her podcasts all nicely put together. And the one that we are talking about today, whoops, as I hit the wrong spot, is episode 57, How to Stop Procrastinating. Just want to make sure everybody knows where to find this stuff, not just that we have.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we are on all major platforms. So if you go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever, you can always find Confidence in Trading podcast there. And make sure you subscribe so you get notified when the next episode is out. We send episodes every 2 weeks. So
awesome.
Yeah. And another thing about procrastination is also the fact that a lot of times people feel guilty about it, right? They say, I'm a procrastinator, and they actually feel guilty and bad about themselves. I hear people sometimes saying, yeah, I think I'm just lazy, but procrastination isn't a sign of laziness. It's actually an information that tells you that maybe the task is too overwhelming for you.
Okay.
And maybe it's time to break it down. Like, there is something that is holding you back, right? Maybe you are not ready to do this task. So it's really good to more take it as a sign. It's like, why am I procrastinating on this so much? Don't I know how to do it? Let me maybe look into how to do it. Maybe I just need a little bit more guidance. Or is it that I am just afraid that I will fail to do it? Like, a lot of times people would say, like, no, I don't backtest. And if you really dig into it, many people don't know even how to do it.
I was just about to say, I find that a lot, where I'll talk to traders and ask if they backtest. And then what comes out of the conversation is the reason they don't is that they don't really know how to do it.
And there is no shame in it.
No, if anything, then step one is research how to backtest. Is that
right?
I think that's what you're saying is, and I guess that's a great way to look at it too, is that if you are not doing it, is the reason because you're realizing that there's that maybe it is a little overwhelming, and then breaking it into the smaller pieces could get you over that hump.
Right. So it is really not something to be ashamed of or weakness, or this is something that protects you from discomfort, because there is definitely, like, if you have a task you don't know how to do, or it's overwhelming because it's too big, there is a certain discomfort to step into it. Just like you said, it's like, there's this uncertainty, there's change coming, because when you start backtesting, you might discover things about your strategy, about the market, or about yourself that you might not like. It could be the case, right? That's why a lot of people don't want to look inside themselves, or have a coach who will tell them, hey, maybe that's not exactly what you need to do in this situation, right? So that procrastination is then the sign of the sign that you're protecting yourself. It's your protection mechanism. Remember that we always protect ourselves.
Yeah, it's almost the flight or fear, right? We're just we're taking off. Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes all the sense in the world. And like you said, the other part is, I think we always want to have hope. And if we backtest something and it doesn't work, it means, that our theory wasn't correct. The other one that I get that I think that people got to understand, and that the market is never wrong. And what I mean there is so many times we hear that cliche, right? Oh, I was doing great, then the market took that wrong turn. No, that's the market.
No, so absolutely.
You have to understand some of those obstacles are going to come up, and that every theory that we have isn't the right theory. That's why you need to do the back testing in some of these things.
Right, and I think a lot of those feelings and fears and discomfort comes from the fact that we are, most of people anyhow, are taught that it's not good to make mistakes and you should be perfect. And this is also where part of procrastination comes in. It's like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I won't fail.
Right.
Before I begin, I have to make sure that I have all these, or I have to make sure that I'm doing it absolutely right. And you see, trading is so beautiful domain that helps you actually overcome that perfectionism, because in trading you have to act before you know. You have to act without knowing. You have to make a trade without knowing if it's going to work.
Right.
And it helps you to learn how to make mistakes. It helps you to learn not to be perfect. Perfectionism is one of the reasons why people procrastinate.
Right.
So if you take the attitude of, okay, I'm just going to do the task the best I can, but it might not be perfect, begin before you're ready. Begin not because you're trying to do it perfect, it's because you are trying to do the task. Because you're trying to accomplish something, you're trying to learn something. So progress, not perfection.
I like that. So concentrate on just getting something done, as opposed to trying to get to a result or trying to get to an end spot. That does make a lot of sense to me. I mean, again, you always bring common sense into a very nonsensical trading world that we live in. And I think what it is sometimes we don't take that step back. Do you find that from traders, that we overcomplicate things and don't necessarily look at it in that way?
Yeah, I think overcomplicating and overthinking is one of the big reasons for procrastinations, for sure. But for traders in particular, because we are operating in an environment where we don't know. So because we have this natural fight or flight response and looking for security and safety, we always trying to figure out what will be the best decision.
Right.
But you cannot know whether it was the best decision before you take the trade.
No.
But you still have to take the trade. So if you are looking for the best decision and you start overthinking, overcomplicating things, you won't ever take the trade. So you have to find this.
And that's the paralysis that we find sometimes, right?
Right. Right, absolutely. That, people want the certainty and security, like tell me if it's gonna work. No, you have to make the decision before you know if it's gonna work. That's the whole point in trading. You are taking the risk. And if you are very risk averse and you want certainty, then trading is not for you. If you
Absolutely.
cannot, I mean, and it might sound harsh and you might figure out in your head that you will make it anyway, but it's really that simple. If you cannot exist in an environment where you are uncertain and you learn to be comfortable with it and you learn how to regulate your emotions and regulate your nervous system so it won't go on alert all the time and make you act like crazy, panic in a risky situation and try to run into safety, then it you won't make it. I mean, it's as
No,
simple.
you
You'll
won't.
make
You
it.
just, yeah, you just said it. Is you've got to understand that there is going to be risk involved, and that even the best plan that you can spend days looking for the correct setup, and it doesn't mean that setup is going to provide the answer that you thought it maybe would provide. So you have to be able to adjust as to where it goes.
Yes, everything is possible in the market, and anything can happen at any time. So everything is uncertain, and anything is possible. If you just get that into your mindset and bring that into your philosophy in front of the charts, you will understand why is it so important to have a plan, and why is it important to choose progress and not perfection, because this is the only way that you can actually progress and move forward.
It absolutely makes sense. It's, and like you said, it's understanding if you don't get that part set up, then you don't know what to do when the trade turns against you. And that's what we see is the problem when people don't have that proper preparation, that they're not, when it comes, and something maybe we talk about on Wednesday more, is that the trader, to me, that's the scariest, is also the one that just is dismissive, where they put their money in and they're all there, but as soon as it turns bad, they almost are like, oh, it's dead to me. I've seen so many of these traders, and it's something that I think is more in the mindset than a lot of different things. So it's something I definitely would love to touch with you on the future.
Okay. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
because I see it. I see some traders where it hits a certain level that, I lost my 10%. I'm just going to let it go to zero. They almost get angry at the trade. Like, I'm going to prove you.
Yeah, I mean, you see that there are different ways to react to danger. Danger in this case to taking a loss. You can either start fighting. There's this fight, flight, or freeze response, and some people just become indifferent. They're like, oh, I don't care. And actually, I had a situation recently with one of the traders that said, oh, you know what, I almost blew up my account. I only have, whatever, $500 on my account. I'm like, what do you mean only $500? So you're kind of canceling the $500. Like, how can you want to make money if you don't respect your money? I mean, $500 is a lot. And the interesting thing was that after the discussion I had with him, he actually went all the way back up. So he did not blow that account. He started working very diligently and step by step, and actually built his account back up.
That's what I want to talk to you about. That you just hit on it exactly, is that there's two things to do when you get to that point. And I see too many traders that make decision A, which was where your trader was going, until luckily they had you to guide them. I think you just nailed it. That's exactly it. Just to, it's not capitulation. It's starting to decide and make a plan again about where you're going from where you're at.
Yeah, but you see, the tendency to do that is so natural again, because this is the exact same Zeigarnik effect, the urge to completion. You just want to, like, oh, let me just finish this one, and then I'm going to start a new account, and I'm going to start all from new.
Right.
But you can't keep doing that. This is exactly what happens in trading. You blow up on one account, and then you just want to forget it and then move on from new. But this is what makes you start from zero every time. because that blown account is a wealth of information. And if you just want to forget it and start new, it's like you don't take any lessons.
Yeah, you don't
from
learn
what just
from it,
happened.
right? Absolutely.
So you
That's
reset your
a great
journey.
point, and that's what I sort of was getting to. We're gonna leave that for next time, because I do want to dive
Okay.
deeper into it, because I do think that it's a big problem that I see with traders, and especially in a market that we're hitting right now, where it's okay. Well, how did I predict that Israel was going to bomb Iran? Well, you couldn't have. But
Right.
what you can do is have an answer to when the trade turned wrong. Either what is my exit strategy, and there are many different exit strategies to mitigate losses, right?
Right.
That we can use, but so many people just have that, like, it's, like you said, they'll lose the other 50%. Just because you're down 50, maintain and maximize that last 50%. Hold it like it's your baby. Don't just be like,
Right.
Throw it in the river.
Right. Yeah. Make it your mission to show yourself that you actually care. Because the fact that when you say, oh, whatever, I'm just going to blow up the rest, and it shows you don't care. And then if you don't care, what is it that you're trying to achieve here? Right.
Yeah,
because
you're just gonna
without
be in that
caring,
you're
without
gonna be
caring,
in
you're going to be in
circle
the same
emotion
spot.
if you do that. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly. Yes. So
Well,
they're definitely, switching your mindset, and no matter what it is, every single cent, turning it around and thinking, what am I willing to risk this? And is this the opportunity that I want to use to risk my money? Just really having the respect for the money that you are playing. And I know that a lot of times when people trade funded accounts, they feel like it's not their money. So this
right.
kind of adds a little bit more of the, oh, whatever, but treat it as your own money, because you paid for that account. So if you blow up $300, you have to buy a new account. And yes, you can argue for your limitations and tell me, yeah, but they're very cheap and they have a promotion. It's like, okay, so what does that do good to you?
And just send me the $300 or $400 then. If you're just going to throw it into the ether, so to speak, well, just send it to me then.
Right. It's really all about your initial approach, and always choosing and thinking about, like, what is really in my best interest? Not today, not right now, because you just want to finish the discomfort, but long term.
Absolutely.
What would you, as a trader, benefit the most? What would you, as a human being, benefit the most? Because every time you do something, you're building habits, and every bad habit that you establish and confirm makes it stronger. And then, is that really in your best interest if you really want to succeed in trading?
No, it is not. As I'm going to answer that question, no, it's not. Agnieszka, thank you so much for spending time with us, like always, on Mondays and Wednesdays. We have our subject for Wednesday, so we're ready to go. Quasar Markets, thank you so much for joining us. Broke 200 on that short interview, so I love it. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you tell your friends about it. Nobody gives you insights like we do with these educators that we're lucky enough to have as part of our team. Agnieszka is at the top of her field without a doubt. So everybody, thank you, and we will see you again tomorrow morning.